All right, we're back. It's the Sensible Politics Podcast. I am Greg, and I'm with Chris. Chris, are you ready?
I am ready.
Are you ready to talk about another crazy, to some people, issue? Something that's going to be controversial, that's going to hurt feelings possibly, but we're going to do our best to make the best out of this conversation because it needs to be had, and we don't need to try to hold our tongues on it. Are you ready to go?
I am. Pretty heavy topic tonight.
Now, I am going to defer to you.
Oh.
Yes, I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to let you start the discussion. I'm going to let you lead it off and tell our viewers what we're going to be talking about.
All right. He's going to let me dig my grave tonight. So.
Yes.
All right.
Shovels.
So what we're going to talk about tonight is going to be white privilege. So I have put a lot of thought into this, and I know Greg has as well. And one thing I have realized, I was originally the one that proposed this topic.
Yes, I sure didn't, because I know what this kind of conversation does when you got white friends. They're not your friends anymore.
And along the way of me thinking about this topic, I realized that there are minefields everywhere that I could step in as a white guy talking about this topic. So
And there goes his white privilege standing right there.
All right.
I can't say certain things because I'm going to be attacked for it. All right, go ahead.
So one of the things I think when we talk about white privilege that you can't really deny there is white privilege is when it comes with the police. Like, it just turn on the news. Like, you can't deny there's white privilege when it comes to the police.
And when you say when it comes to the police, you mean when the police inflict their force against a individual of African descent, and there are no consequences for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just their actions alone. I mean, one of the videos that I watched that was just infuriated me.
Was it Dave Chappelle when he got pulled over with his friend Chip?
That was pretty funny bit. That was a funny bit. Well, but one of the getting serious though. I mean, one of the videos that just infuriated me was in South Carolina when the dude got pulled over. I think it was some kind of traffic violation. He gets out of his car and he runs away from the cop, and the cop's decision is to pull his gun out and shoot him in the back and kill the guy. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to use lethal force only if you feel like your life is in danger. How can a guy running away from you can endanger you?
And the bad thing is that's up to interpretation. Because as long as the officer says his life is in danger, in most cases, he's going to get the benefit of the doubt because he's the officer.
The good thing is I think that guy's in jail for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
He probably got that 10-year sentence like Amber Geiger.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the...
I don't know for sure, though. But
And then the most recent one, the most recent one was, I think it was in Dallas or somewhere down south, where the police came out to do a wellness check, and they shot the lady in her house.
Own house? Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like, I hope that they give that dude the death penalty, and then they take that video of him getting the death penalty, and then they play it for every new recruit. Like, this, you want to do this shit? This is what you get.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not based on they weren't trained properly. It's just like you treat certain people differently than you treat other people. That's more of it's not even really a training issue. It's just like how you feel about certain people. Did you see the video of the white lady who spoke, I guess, at the city council about that? And she said she was with her dog and she heard some noise in her backyard, and she turned the light on, and she was like, "Who's back there?" And he was like, "It's the police, and we're looking for something," or something like that. And she was like, "The only thing I was afraid of, are they going to shoot my dog?"
Really?
That was my biggest fear. Are they going to shoot my dog? Not if they're going to shoot me. Because if I would have been that black lady, I would have got shot. And that's my white privilege. That I didn't have to worry about me. I was more worried about my dog than my life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I guess for me, I kind of relate everything personal. So I've actually experienced a time where I was in a, I guess, what's the word here?
You were the minority of predominantly black.
No,
region or something?
not at all.
Okay.
No.
As if I could find a place like that. But.
What I was getting at, I was in a traffic stop with the police officer.
Okay.
And I was probably like in my early 20s, maybe 22, 23 years old. I went down a like back road where there's hardly any people around. Speed limit's 35 miles an hour. I'm going 70. Get pulled over by a cop. I was high as shit. I had no driver's license on me, and the cop gave me a warning.
You could have killed somebody. It's dark and
It wasn't dark. It was daylight.
Oh, okay.
And well, I mean, okay. When I say high shit, I was high. I wasn't like high. I was on weed, nothing else.
The funny thing is, usually when you're high, you drive slow, and you're going 70.
Well,
Usually, like weed slows you down a little bit. But
and I had done it a lot on this back road. I mean, it's a long straightaway, and that's basically the reason why I was doing it. I was young, stupid, doing stuff that other stupid people do.
Yeah.
But if I had done that on a different side of town or a different color,
Consequences might have been a little different.
a lot different. I mean, I didn't even have my ID on me, and all he asked for was my name and address, and he went and looked my stuff up in the on his computer, and then he came back and said, "Slow down and let me go."
That's crazy. I have had favorable interactions with the police, and I've had some not so favorable ones. And I think maybe it comes from a difference in policing after time. When I was young and stupid, I did stupid things too. But usually, my interactions were for driving on the wrong side of town, because I'm not going to say where we're from, but I'm going to delete that. But I was driving on the wrong side of town, and it was after a certain hour. So I got pulled. I had a tail light that was out. I got pulled over 3 times on the same road for that same backlight, for that tail light. I was like, I just got pulled over. Like, well, what are you doing over here? You need to get home. It's like, why do I got to go home? I just came from a football game, just like anybody else. I'm just a kid driving, looking for something to eat or something,
Yeah.
But I got pulled over 3 times for the same thing. Another time, I was further on the wrong side of town, and this officer, he was kind of funny. But he pulled me over. I didn't even do anything. And I was like, what'd you pull me over for, officer? And he was like, what are you doing over here? I said, well, I'm going to this bar up here, and I heard they had good chicken wings or something like that. We're going to get some wings. And so the officer said, you guys be careful over at that bar. I turned my ass around right back home. Because it's like, what am I about to go into in this county? Because he pulled me over because what are these black people doing out here? You don't live out here. You got no business being out here. You out on this road? Nah, you better get out of here. And he kind of gave me a fair warning. He was like, something bad might happen to you, kid. You better go back home. Better get back to your side of town.
That was a smart decision. When I was young and stupid, I just would have went anyways.
Yeah, I didn't want that. I was like, nah, it ain't worth it because I know I'm outnumbered out here. It was me and one other guy. It was like, yeah, if it's 15, 20 of them, like, we toast, so. I turned around and called it a day, but it happens. But back to the, before we get too far off, back to white privilege. You say in interactions with the police, it does exist, so it doesn't exist in any other, go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist in any other instance. I will agree that you can find instances of it. I just don't think it's as prevalent. I think the most glaring area where you can obviously see it, like there's just really not much of an argument, is with the police. And so where it comes to economic, so what other areas of white privilege can there be? There can be economic white privilege. Do you have any other areas that you can be privileged as a white person?
Education. Economics, education. Some would say that white supremacy rules every single facet of life, every area of activity in the world. Everything is ruled by white supremacy. There's some kind of white supremacy on top of everything, whether it be politics. It's all over the place. Let's go economics. You say it doesn't exist in economics, or it does.
I could see how there can be instances. I will say, originally, my initial gut feeling is that it doesn't exist in economics, but I think it can kind of tie into when you're talking about with the run-ins with the police, because when you get into the system and you're having to go to all the classes, probation, taking all the drug tests, all that stuff costs a ton of money, and a lot of times you get caught up in this stuff when you're young. So you're a young man, you're 18, 19 years old, you don't have very much money to begin with. And then now you have this gigantic amount of fees and fines and everything you have to keep paying. And if you don't pay them, now you go back to jail. Also, if you don't go to the classes, you can go back to jail. But all the classes are when people are working. And in order for me to pay all these classes, I have to keep a job. And my boss doesn't like the fact that I'm having to leave work early or take a day off to go down and pay for this stuff. It's like a never-ending cycle.
But we're still kind of talking about And we're still kind of talking about the police.
Yes, I think it's tied. So if you're a young black guy or even a young white guy, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, but if you get caught up as a young person in the system, it's extremely hard to get out of. And all they want is their money. I mean, they'll let you off for probation early as long as you pay up your. So say you're on probation for 3 years and or supposed to be on there for 3 years, and you're only on there for 6-8 months. As long as you pay the full 3 years, as if you were on there, they don't care. They'll let you off early because you paid their money. That's all they want from you.
Okay.
And I could see how that. I mean, that's sucking away cash. And when you take into account that they do target the black community more, so now the black community is getting more money sucking away from them.
Right. And the fact that it's kind of like your wealth can establish how the legal system treats you. So if you got enough money, you can buy your way out of trouble.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there is no black wealth. I mean, there's O.J. Simpson, and he went broke trying to get out of trouble, but he did kill a couple people. But, he bought his way out of trouble probably. He had best legal team that money could buy. But the thing when it comes to regular people, that black wealth doesn't exist. There isn't any black wealth. I got a chart for you. When it comes to economics, you kind of hit it on in that area, but I got this little chart. So this chart details black wealth versus white wealth over decades, over periods of time. So according to the census in 1983, median household wealth by ethnicity for whites was $102,200. For blacks, it was, I think they're the red line, 6,800. Let's go to around circa 1990. It goes down for black people. It goes up for white families. Then we get to around pre-recession. So it's about 2009, 2008. 161,400 for white Americans, 10,400 for blacks and Hispanics. Then we get to present time. So right now we're about right here. So I say that's about $1,000, maybe 2,000, possibly. I don't know. But according to this chart is forecasting that by the year 2024, white wealth will be median household wealth will be $122,366, and black wealth be $1,233. So it's hard to say that there is no, with that kind of disparity. You're talking, zero wealth versus, comfortable wealth. $122,000 means I own a house. Basically, my house is paid for. That's what that means. When you take away all your expenses and everything and what you got left and all that. That means I own a house, basically. This means I'm renting and all my money is for consumption. Everything I make goes back, and I don't have anything at the end of the day. So my bank account has about $2,000 in it, and I owe $1,000 in credit cards, basically, is what that's saying. So
that chart says that the median household income is
wealth, not income, wealth.
Wealth. Oh, okay. I thought this was yearly income.
No,
okay.
This is wealth. Yeah, this is money that you've got on top of your everyday money.
I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I say that $100,000 means that person owns a house, or they're halfway through in their mortgage, depending on how much the house costs.
This is taking the average, and I will say
median, not average, median.
Median.
So like where.
So this doesn't include the billionaires.
Nah. Well, it kind of offsets the millionaires because it's not likely that most people are going to be billionaires. So it's the more realistic number. Like you have average, that takes everything and it gives you a number. Median is like where more people would fall into.
Well, then I would say I'm probably right along with the black community then. I mean, I mean, $122,000 in like cash, like I got available right to me right now. If I want to go buy a $122,000 house.
No, not cash. That's basically what you own. Like basically, how do you establish $100,000 worth of wealth? You buy a house and you pay it off. You pay your mortgage off, or you buy a house and you upgrade. And then you use the money from your old house, and you know, so that's you got equity in your home. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily,
Yeah.
but you're young as hell.
Yeah.
So, and we talking like we got baby boomers and stuff like that. So that's where all the wealth is calcified at with older people. They got all the money.
I can see when you throw in the house, if you have equity, if you're not upside
Right.
down
Yeah.
or something like that. I can see how that can take into place. But man, yeah, that is a gigantic discrepancy there.
Yeah. So I think even though you talk about it from the criminal aspect of it, there is a disparity economically that exists when it comes to white people and black people. So, I mean, that is white privilege. It's like you're more likely to end up in a higher bracket.
I this is gonna be real controversial here, but if you are poor, like I have zero sympathy for you, like none. I grew up extremely poor as a kid, as an adult. I mean, dude, I spent my 21st birthday in a jail cell I had no job, no car, no driver's license, no high school diploma. I had a 3-month-old daughter, and my girl didn't work, and my girl and my daughter were staying with friends who didn't even want them staying there. They were just there because I'm in jail right now. Like, I had no place to live. I understand what it's like to be poor. Being poor is the greatest motivator to not be poor because you understand how bad it sucks. And you're going to get up out of bed every day. Like when I was on my 21st birthday, I wasn't in jail for just one day. I was in jail for 2 weeks. And I spent that 2 weeks with a bunch of time to think. And I made a promise to myself that I was going to change my life. And this is not going to be how my life is going to go. I mean, I didn't even have a high school diploma or a driver's license. And I was 21 years old. Like I was way back. I didn't have anything going for me at that time. No job, no nothing. And I figured out how to make it so that my kids will never experience the life that I had as a child, that I grew up with. And then obviously the bed that I made myself when I was in my early 20s as well. But it was a drive. Like I didn't start off getting some great job. I mean, I didn't even have a high school diploma. Like I had to work my way up. I had to work extremely hard, try to learn as much as I can. I had to walk to work every day. I think it's the biggest problem. Most people, if they can't get a ride to work, they don't show up to work. Right. They don't get out and start walking.
Okay, now I'm going to hit two things. Number one, you told me that story before. And you also told me that somebody told you something when you were in jail. What did that guy tell you?
That guy told me you might as well start selling drugs because you're in the system now.
You might as well start selling drugs. Now, when you make this decision that you're going to get your life together, that you're going to like, man, forget this. I'm getting out of this nasty life that I'm living. I'm going to start doing better. I'm going to work my ass off. But what happens first? Somebody gives you an opportunity. Somebody has to hire you for that job. No one, because you got to mark, like, have you been convicted of a crime and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody has to believe in you. Everybody isn't going to get an opportunity.
Yeah, but the opportunity that I was given was not some amazing job.
Not necessarily, but it's an opportunity. Everybody has to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to have an opportunity because if nobody gives you a chance, you can't show anybody what you can do and you can't work your way up because you got to get let in the door first.
Yeah, but again, I started off selling vacuum cleaners. Like, it wasn't like I was...
You hustle, but... Okay, so, all right. So, Chris at 21 walks up to your house, clean-cut little nice kid, walks up. Would you like to buy a vacuum cleaner? Black kid walks up into the all-white neighborhood. They don't answer the door for him because they scared it might be a robbery or something, possibly. Or maybe the trailer park, they shoot him, It's like, get off my property,
God.
I was just a Kirby salesman,
You go to the extremes here.
I'm just saying that it does take an opportunity first. And
I
everybody
agree.
isn't going to get an opportunity.
I agree, but you have to show the willingness and want to take that opportunity. I was blessed with an opportunity. Yeah, I got a job. But it's not, again, I didn't have anything going for me, man.
But I don't think...
It's not like my parents paid for a college degree or anything for me.
Well, this is when I say white privilege, in my opinion, white privilege means even though you start with nothing, you can, if you're white, you can be that. And it's realistic. It's very realistic. If you're black, it's so unrealistic that you can make it to that. All right, I got another chart for you. Okay. let's talk about income, or actually net worth. Okay, so these are white people, and these are black people. Okay, so they mark off these Harvard legacy type of people. These basically people who are born into wealth, the ultra elite. They got $6 million in net worth or more. So they account for whatever percentage. And then you've got something called the elite. About $1 million. You go to great school, state university or something like that. Then these $500,000 people, and then these $110,000 people. Most people are gonna within white society are gonna fall at least average, right? You at least some people broke as hell. So, some people all the way fucked up, and that's real. But these things right here, this ultra elite and elite, these things don't exist when it comes to black people. There aren't any. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah, and a few football players, and that's it. But these people are like dentists and doctors and lawyers and people that own construction companies and stuff like that. That kind of stuff exists in larger amounts when you're white, as opposed to when you're black. So 20% of black families are, let's see, what does it say, average? So 110 or more, and then everybody else is down here. So either negative or zero. So like there are none of these millionaires, because there's no legacy. They're black legacy families. They don't exist. There aren't any. So the privilege of being white is that even if you start with nothing, you can still be one of these. If you're black, it's almost impossible to get to any of these levels.
But why is it impossible?
Because lack of opportunity. It's a lot of things, but mostly it's because you don't have anybody to. I think it's maybe because these people had wealth handed down to them. So if you don't start with nothing, you usually don't end with nothing. You can kind of get there and then work your way up, and in a few generations, maybe you can get here or something like that. But the opportunities aren't going to exist for you. I don't know why the opportunities don't exist. I'm not going to say it's because nobody gives black people opportunities, because some people do, but usually it's a token or something like that. You see one black guy in management, but all the rest of the guys got regular jobs. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen that.
Is that reasonable to say? Like at my job, I see white women, mostly white men are in management. It's mostly white men. There's some white women. There's a black guy. Sprinkled. Like for every 20. It's like, all right, it's time to get a black guy. There's a black guy. There's a black guy. And you got to have a certain demeanor to be the black guy. You can't be the angry black guy. You can't be you got to have a certain demeanor. You got to be able to assimilate. And I think assimilation is very hard for black people in this society. It's hard. Okay, say that you're Asian and you come from, I don't know, you're third generation Asian in America. You can more easily assimilate because they think you're smart.
Yeah.
Right? You're always going to be stereotyped as all the Asian kids are the smart kids. They know all the math and the science. What are the black kids stereotyped as? Troublemakers. So you're going to get placed somewhere. So unless these kids can assimilate and catch favor with the ruling class, you're not going to get that opportunity.
I don't know. Coming from I'm also not black, so I've never had to deal with any of this. Right. So obviously my perspective is not going to be nowhere near the same. But I've just always looked at it like I've seen a lot of white dudes who aren't doing nothing with their lives too. Like there's a bunch of white people out there that aren't doing nothing. And
I've seen a lot of white guys who are marginally talented exceed expectations and go way to the top, and they ain't got no business being there.
A lot of it's about who you know.
Yeah.
And see, this is, I think when we're talking about economics, I don't believe it's a white or a black issue. I believe it's a class issue. I believe that there are a bunch of poor black folks and a bunch of poor white folks, and you got the ruling top class that look at us as no different. We're just these peasants down here.
I agree.
and get to work for us.
Yeah, I agree. And most of them are probably, few generation immigrant, Italian, Irish, or something like that. They're not they just became white a couple, 50 years ago. They didn't look. They were looked at as lesser. They're working class. So yeah, I do agree with that. But the thing that I'm trying to address is that even if you're white though, you can still get there. If you're black, it doesn't exist.
The hard part that's to swallow, and I see where you're coming from, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to diminish it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But by saying that you can start from nothing and make yourself into something, that's basically saying like you didn't work hard, you just got that just because you're white. Like
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Okay,
I mean,
I thought you were going there. I'm not saying that every white person is white privilege affords you that you're always going to be successful just because you're white. Not saying that. What I am saying is, if you're white and you apply yourself marginally, you should do okay.
But what about the people that had to run through a bunch of shit in their life?
What do you mean by a bunch of shit?
I mean, just there's a lot of people that have gone
like mental health issues or stuff like that.
No. I mean, like just like got dealt a really bad hand. Like there's people out there, and again, I think this is black or white or Mexican or Asian, whoever. They're born with. If you're playing a game of cards, they're born with 2 2s. Yeah. That's the deck that they got, and now they got to try to play this 2 2s to make something out of it. And there are people out there who do. And they went through, in order to get to that point, they went through a lot of crap. Mm-hmm. They had to wake up insanely early. They had to do all kinds of stuff that the average person just isn't willing to do. Like, they're just not willing to push themselves to go through that.
There are a lot of bad hands out there. And most of us, I think, have got a bad hand now when you look at the way things are now. I think most of us have a bad hand. But I think the major point that I'm trying to make is not that because you're white, you're going to be that. Necessarily, it's like everybody white doesn't get the bad hand. Everybody black gets the bad hand. Everybody gets 2 2s.
Everybody black gets the bad hand.
Just about. For the most part, yeah.
So Deion Sanders' kids get the bad hand?
No, because they're they're ungodly talented. So everybody, some people get talent. So that's an ace, I guess. Talent is an ace if you're physically gifted. Because Deion Sanders probably got the bad hand too, but he can run fast as lightning.
Yeah.
So that means we can put you on a football field, so you can make some money because you're physically gifted.
Even if his kids were,
but he probably got the bad hand though.
He got a bad hand economically. Yeah. Genetically, he didn't.
Yeah.
But he's an all-time great. But
but not to sound racist or sound like but a lot of great white athletes. I mean, with all honesty, maybe some hockey players or something, but white people don't get the athletic hand, but yet they still always,
That doesn't sound racist at all, Greg. The white folks completely understand this.
There are white running backs now, and white people athletically are coming a long way,
There's
and I'm proud of all of them.
White running back.
Well, I think they need to give another one a chance. And then we'll add a black quarterback for every white running back we get. But
yeah. Well, see, I was actually going to kind of go this way. We're kind of going a little bit towards this now, but I feel like more people need to play sports, man. Like
I feel like nobody should play sports.
Oh, exact opposite. When you're in a locker room and you're on a team with somebody, they don't care about what color you are. They don't care about it's about what you can do.
If you want to play quarterback, you better be white.
Man, look at the starting roster of NFL quarterbacks nowadays. There's
7. There's always 7. There's always 7. Every year it's 7. I've been looking over this thing for years. There's always 7 out of 32 teams. There's always 7, and they get flipped out because 3 of them end up on bad teams, and then they're gone out the league, and then it's always 7, and there's 7 coaches. That's the number. Is 7.
Yeah. When you're on the team, okay,
but I get what you're saying.
You can say maybe the coaches who are making this decision might
definitely use favoritism.
Okay,
coaches are assholes.
I'm talking about the players. Like the players don't care about what color you are. They care about what are you going to do to help us win.
Yeah, but the players don't make the decisions. The coaches and the general managers and everybody else does. The players love each other because they are in the same boat together.
Yeah.
They're playing with each other. Like, you are my brother on this field because it's us against them. And you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they don't care about color when they're playing, but at the same time,
let's say you
they're
got
not the one that's making the decisions.
Let's say you got a racist coach. He don't want a black quarterback.
Okay.
All right. But the kid on the team who's obviously the best quarterback on the team is a black quarterback. Don't you think there's going to be a revolt on the team?
No.
Why in the hell is he getting in?
Absolutely not. No, there's never been a revolt. Nobody revolted when they benched Colin Kaepernick and you knew that other guy behind him was a bum. You know, I mean, I never seen a team revolt against a coach because of who he decided to put in a position. I haven't seen it.
Maybe not revolt. There's going to be the captains walking in the locker room saying, "Coach, what the hell?"
You think they got real pull? Are we talking about like from a pro perspective, high school, or like?
Okay, maybe not pro perspective. I'm talking more. How many pro athletes are there? The majority of America will never be pro athlete. I'm talking about high school.
That's why I say people shouldn't play sports. But let's go rewind. I think you're saying people should play sports because they kind of get a sense of continuity with one another, and they'll
yes,
I get what you're saying there.
Yeah, because if I grew up in a neighborhood where there's no other black people in my neighborhood, and it's all white people, and I don't really interact with white people very often, or I'm sorry, black people very often. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't really know too much about you. I'm going to have my perceptions.
You're going to remember the Titans on them, and it's like we share our differences, and we learn from each other, and we can become better people as a result.
But if you're playing sports, I'm sorry, but if you're a white dude playing sports, you're going to be the minority out there, and you're going to have to learn to get along.
Unless you're playing hockey.
Well, hockey don't count. We're not in Canada.
Right.
This is America.
All right. But I get what you're saying. And let's be honest, the really good white basketball player, he doesn't find out how good he is until he goes to play against black kids. That's his litmus test. Can I play with the black kids?
Yeah, the white kid in a small country town.
Right, yeah. He's Larry Bird out there, and then he has to play against, a bunch of Michael Jordans, and it's like, whoa, shit, can you really hoop? You better really be Larry Bird,
He was a 5-star recruit until...
Yeah, until he had to play against, people in the city. He wasn't coddled anymore. But I get what you're saying. You're right about that. I think sports is a good avenue for people to learn about people and learn about one another and see that we are the same and we should.
It also teaches about going through some stuff, man. I'm such a huge believer in go through some shit in life. Like if you got a bad hand and you just keep pushing through there and then you get the reward at the end, it's so worth it. And sports teaches you that as well. I can remember in the summertime, them long dog-ass days, running sprints and stuff like that, and it sucked, but then you get a win on a Friday night. It felt worth it.
Right, I get you, because I think a lot of I don't want to pick on young kids or pick on young people, but I think a lot of them don't have character because they don't have those sports and those activities that we used to have when I was a kid. I mean, you play some sport all year round. You was doing something.
Yeah.
Like kids now, they don't play anything. Like, how the hell are you in middle school and you ain't never played nothing? Like, or high school, and it's like, you don't want to play nothing? Like, you don't want to participate in nothing? You just go home every day?
No. It's working their thumbs. That's all they're doing.
So, yeah, it's all. Yeah, and I think we're going to be in for a rude awakening of people who can't handle adversity in the future, of people who are going to collapse and fall apart, And that's why the opioid epidemic, which I don't know if it's an epidemic or not, but I think that's why the opioids are so strong right now, because kids are so sad because they don't have anything to belong to. They need teams, or they need, some kind of belonging, because, Maslow's hierarchy of needs says you get your basic needs, and then you still need those needs from being around other people and being accepted in some kind of way, and the fact that kids don't really play sports no more.
Yeah, and feeling like you're accomplishing something and doing something productive.
Right, and it's not their fault. It's these greedy motherfuckers who, let me take that. I don't want to say that, but I'm going to delete that. It's these greedy ass people who exploit these children for sports. It's these AAUs, and these kids don't really get an opportunity to compete. It's like, if you're not one of the chosen kids, you're never going to play basketball, or if you're not already chosen, you're not likely to get on the football field. So it's like, hey, you better play off-brand sport or something like that. Okay, and since we're on the subject of white privilege, before we get too far off track, let's talk about how do you feel being a white guy when it comes to feminism and LGBT, saying that you white guys get all the opportunities, you get everything, and you're victimizing them.
Yeah, I think the victim culture is just like, who can be the most victim? Like, who can, I mean, There's almost like power in being a victim nowadays.
Yeah, the intersectionality debate of the more minority things you can claim, the stronger you are as an individual. It seems like but coming from a white male's perspective, do you kind of feel like everybody's against you? Like,
I don't feel like everybody's against me particular.
well, not personally, but
But
do you think that everything is an attack towards white males?
the perception, I guess, can be. I will say, I mean, there are some douchebags out there. Obviously, some terrible people out there who have taken advantage of people and stuff like that. But I don't see how that should take place of every white person now has to pay the price for that.
But do you think that it's actually an attack on all white guys, and maybe it's like there's some nuance to it? They're more talking about certain people, and I don't know, maybe white guys figure like, oh my God, it's so hard to be a white man right now because everybody,
No, I don't feel like it's so hard to be a white man. I don't feel like that at all.
I don't either. I've never been one, but
I wouldn't think you would. But I mean, no, I don't look at it as being so hard just to be a white guy. I think it's hard just making it in life in general. I mean, life ain't easy. But I think about being difficult for a white guy. There's a lot of people out there who, I think a ton of people, who are going to say this particular subject isn't even a subject that I am qualified to talk about, simply because I'm white.
That's an interesting perspective. I think some people aren't qualified to talk about certain things. I think some minorities aren't qualified. I think most of the people you see on TV are not qualified to talk about these issues. Usually, like I watch CNN, and they'll go to their black correspondent to their Van Jones or something like that for the black perspective, or they'll go to Don Lemon or Anderson Cooper for a gay perspective. But Anderson Cooper actually doesn't even like wear that armor of homosexuality. You wouldn't even know he was gay.
I was late to the party knowing that he was gay.
You wouldn't even know. But they'll go to their correspondent and to have a certain perspective. And I don't think those people are even qualified to talk about some of the stuff they say. I really don't. So I get where you're coming from, where people say I'm not qualified. But I think if you come from a perspective of experience, honesty, and understanding other people, and not like bashing other people for their opinions and just saying you're wrong because I said so. I think people are more receptive in a different way. Sometimes I watch Bill Maher, and I think he's unqualified to talk about a lot of stuff he talks about. But he thinks just because he's got like black friends or he's a liberal that he can say whatever he wants to. And I think he's out of line on some of the stuff he says. So I think some people are unqualified. But just because you don't know everything, as long as you don't carry yourself as if you do know everything, I think people can accept it.
Yeah. I've seen stuff like on YouTube and stuff where if you're a white person, and these are actually major liberals who are in these discussions, all of them there are extreme liberals. And if you're a white male, you have to get up and state your privilege prior to your opinion, because it's almost like just simply because you are a white person, your opinion.
I've never heard of this. Where do they do this at?
I've
state
seen
your
it.
privilege.
I have seen it on YouTube on these college campuses, and I have seen it multiple times. It is hilarious, and it's almost like they make the guy admit, well, I'm not qualified to talk about this, but this is my perspective anyways. And it's almost like they're just cutting him off just to start with.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you resonate more as a conservative because they're more white guy friendly? Like if you look at, okay, now here's my example. The last election cycle, it was Trump against like 15 white guys, right?
Yeah.
No women or
Not
one
true.
black guy, right? Who's the woman?
She was the chick from Hewlett Packard.
Okay, yeah.
Carly Fiorina.
Yeah, okay. So was she the only one?
How many are on the Democrats? There's a couple on the Democrats side. Yeah, I think she was the only one.
But the Democrats got like 4 women, 4 or 5,
Okay.
at least 5. They got Liz, they got Kamala, they've got Tulsi Gabbard,
Oh, I forgot about her.
they've got the other lady who's like middle of the road, so she's not really worth remembering, but she's kind of plain Jane.
Yeah.
She's more like in the middle. She's not like Elizabeth Warren socialist or nothing like that. And they had Marianne Williamson. They had several
But
women.
You were asking me, do I?
Yeah. Do you resonate more as a conservative because it seems like they're more white guy friendly? Because it seems like on the Democratic side, to be a white guy is a sin almost. Like the more white guy you are, the less they like you almost. But like Joe Biden, even though he's the front runner and people think because he's a white guy, he may be the only chance you got to beat Donald Trump. But everybody else is attacking him for being the white guy. And Bernie Sanders is so old, nobody considers him even, nobody really gives him that much respect. But he's so socialist and so, so against the grain, you can't even like count him in the same realm as like a not George Bush. What's Bush's brother? Jeb Bush, Little Marco, Ted Cruz. He's not in that realm of guys. So, and then you got Pete, he's gay. And then you got tall guy from Texas. I don't know why I can't remember. Beto O'Rourke.
Beta male.
Beto, yeah. So so he almost doesn't stand a chance because he's the white guy. He's too white guy, I think, to win the Democratic. Do you think that white males more resonate with the conservative party because they? And I gotta figure they came out and voted for Donald Trump because they couldn't vote for Hillary.
I do not associate more on the. I'm actually more on the libertarian side, I would say, on a lot of issues. But I do lean.
Libertarians vote Republican, though.
Yeah, I don't vote for a libertarian candidate because I feel like it's a waste of a vote because the guy's not going to win.
Can't win. Yeah.
So yeah,
he can win Indiana if he really put a good charge toward. Because I think we got the most libertarians. I never met so many libertarians, but they live in Indiana.
I don't lean that way. Have anything to do with race? It's literally just on.
But you don't feel like they
issues.
speak better to you?
That they speak better to me?
Yeah, like they kind of understand. Like, I thought that Trump won because the people in Wisconsin, Michigan, the working class felt like he was like out there for us.
I felt like he was out there for us, but I always looked at it as us.
But it wasn't a white male thing. It was us as an Americans or working
us as an
people.
American thing.
Okay,
Yeah. Well, because you talk about China. That's not in the context of race. I guess the China race, but it's not in that context.
I get you.
So I never once have voted for somebody simply based upon on race at all. I voted for Barack Obama the first term, his first term.
Mm-hmm.
So it was never based upon that. I always look at what candidate that I think I like the best.
Are you an anomaly?
Am I an anomaly? No.
Do most people think like you? Or most people like?
Well, I think
looking at it the same way you are.
So, the majority of the country is white, right? Population-wise.
Yeah.
And Barack Obama won 2 terms. And in the exact same states where Barack Obama won, Donald Trump won as well. So I don't understand how you can relate racism or people looking at a white guy when they voted for a black guy 2 times before. I just don't see that. I think it's all about what they're talking about and also who they're going against. What's the other option? Hillary?
All right. Well, let me ask you this. How does the same person that voted for Barack Obama vote for Donald Trump? They're so polar opposite. Presidential, non-presidential. Scandalous, squeaky clean. Like, they're so far apart. And I guess maybe politically they're kind of close, I guess. Because Trump is anti-war.
Yes.
Obama said he was anti-war, but he still had a bunch of wars.
President.
Yeah, he still killed people. But he did win a Nobel Peace Prize, and Trump got mad because he didn't get one. That's funny.
Yeah, he won a Nobel Peace Prize while he's dropping a bunch of tomahawk bombs.
While he was killing the hell out of people. But it just kind of baffles me. It's like the demeanor of the two is so different, and I'm like, how does the state that went Obama go Trump? Like, what happens in that 8 years that turns these people all the way this way?
Well, one thing is the candidate that they were going against,
Hillary.
Yes. Also, the left, which an issue like this, the left champions issues like this, and if you look at it from the other perspective, I'm not saying this is right or anything, but if you look at it, you're telling a bunch of white people that they're only successful because they're white. It's a pretty easy way to tick somebody off because they know all the hard work that they put in to get to where they're at. Now, granted, there are some people out there that benefited because daddy paid for everything for them. But there's also a lot of other people that pull themselves up that didn't have that opportunity. And when you're telling them that and they know the truth, they know everything they went through, they're not going to vote for you.
See, this is my thing. Trump is the epitome of white privilege. He's he's not a bootstrap guy. He never worked hard a day in his life. He didn't have to work to get to where he inherited. I look at Joe Biden. He didn't do anything to, he's not the hard working guy.
But Trump spoke to us,
to those people.
Yes,
who actually do work hard.
Yeah, the crazy thing is,
But how can you relate to him? He's a billionaire. He don't know what the fuck you're going through. He's unqualified to have this conversation.
The question is not how I.
But
can
he
relate
said
to
what
him.
you wanted to hear.
I think the question isn't how I can relate to him. The question is how was he able to relate to us? Because coming from a white, a major privilege, I mean, he had a lot of stuff handed to him. It's not like he didn't pull himself up by his bootstraps to get to where he's at. But somehow he was still able to relate to a lot of poor, working class people.
Yeah, and maybe that just speaks to his charisma and his understanding of people. Maybe that's his greatest quality is he knows how to make people like you.
And also, one of the things that why I voted for Barack Obama the first time around was hope and change. Like I believed in that message. When I voted for him the first time around, oh my God, I believed in it. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I mean, we were in the middle of a terrible economy, and I was like, this guy's going to get us through this.
I seriously thought I would be broke forever when Bush got in office. I was like, oh my God, this life, this ain't life, man. This is bullshit, man. Like, I really thought, like, in my opinion, Bush was the worst president that it ever was or ever could be. Like, you couldn't imagine a worse president than George Bush. I couldn't imagine he would be as bad as he was. I thought he would, was like, he's going to suck, but God, he can't be this bad. He put us in all those wars. He crashed the economy. The housing market collapsed. The banks collapsed. Your retirements, like everything went to hell when he was president. Like, how can anybody be that bad?
Yeah.
So it shocked the hell out of me. And he, another child of privilege.
Yeah.
Had everything handed to him. So, yeah, I don't know. Did you vote for him? Oh, you couldn't vote yet. You're still.
Yeah, I wasn't old enough for George Bush.
Yeah.
You
had just entered adulthood at that time.
Yeah, I was still wet behind the ears there.
Yeah.
I would have voted for him though. I'll be honest. Yeah, I would have voted. It was 9/11, man, and
everybody was so patriotic and
we thought the guy was going to keep us safe. Like, we didn't want any more buildings falling down, and that was really what it was about.
Yeah, and he took advantage of the moment, just like that Rudy Giuliani. He looked like a hero in those times
absolutely,
too. And now he's being exposed like he's always been a crook.
It's so easy to look with hindsight and look back on it, but when you're living in it, like at that time, in the moment, like, dude, there was some crazy times.
Well, I think he was just taking advantage of an opportunity. He was just a great opportunist, but hip hop has been telling us that Rudy Giuliani was terrible for years. Like, Tupac been talking about Rudy Giuliani since the early 90s, so. I mean, every rap artist was like, Giuliani can suck a dick. It's like out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, Giuliani can suck a dick.
Yeah, I think didn't he institute the stop and frisk law?
Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy.
He locked up a lot of black and brown people.
The fact that you can literally just point somebody out and just stop them.
Yeah. Hey, see if he's got drugs on him. Like, he looks like a smoker. And we talking marijuana, and now like all over the place, marijuana is becoming legal everywhere, and it's like, oh Lord have mercy. Don't get me talking about Giuliani.
So, one thing I will say. And I think as far as part of my closing argument, I guess, is we have come a very, very long way. And I obviously, just from things I've seen on TV and read and stuff, of the way the 60s were to where we are now. We're looking at a difference like 60, 70 years. We have come so far. And if you fast forward another 60 or 70 years from now.
In what way?
We've come a long way in the way...
I'm
with race relations.
I'm probably about to drag this conversation out about 10 more minutes. In what way, though? Go ahead.
I feel like we've come a long way. I mean, the type of stuff that was going on back in the 60s versus what's going on now was crazy. And we have made progress. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we've made progress. And I think if you fast forward from now to another 60, 70 years, what do you think the landscape is?
Okay. Here's what I think changed. I think people got smart and realized marching don't do you much good. all it does is get you beat up, or it causes more violence. Um, when you say we've come a long way, um, we're still kind of segregated. Um, we intermingle more amongst each other, but I think we were already intermingling. It's just that the consequences were a lot more severe. So in that instance, yeah, I would say we've come further. Um, I don't know that we can be honest with each other yet. I don't know if we can be real with one another to the point. Like every time, if you look at the news every time, or even on with politics or anybody, every time you see some unarmed black male got killed, what's the first thing they say? In this country, we need to have a conversation about race. But that conversation never happens. It never occurs. And if it does happen, it's led by somebody like Beto O'Rourke, who don't know what the hell he's talking about, who's just giving you a bunch of statistics and stuff that somebody wrote and handed to him, and he's been reciting the same thing over and over again, so it gets easy to him after a certain amount of time. So I don't know that we've approached it honestly yet. Any less violence is always a good thing. The fact that we're not killing each other and we're not at odds, but I still don't think that we've totally became a country of, like, I think like the ultimate thing, like the Martin Luther King thing is, I have a dream that one day, I think we're still like 30 years away from that, because you still look at it like there's separate entities in this country. We still look at people as being Mexican, as being Black American, as being African American, as being white, and so we still got these subsets of race, which is only white supremacy, because the only reason race exists is to demean certain races. So the fact that we still have this concept of race and we still can't really look at it objectively, I think we still have a long way to go. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you don't get dog sick on you, and then it still looks bad because you still get police that get away with killing people, So yeah, we've come a long way. I don't know about a long way. I think we've come further. I'll say that.
I think with every generation, it's going to keep getting better and better. I think there was a line that was acceptable from like our great grandparents that were, it's okay to say the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
And good luck trying that nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay. And every generation, it gets just a little bit better. And then those kids realize this isn't okay. And then it just keeps improving, I think.
Yeah.
Not only that, look at all the interracial dating and marriages and children we have nowadays.
Yeah, but black people and white people have always been fucking each other since the beginning of time.
They have, but I don't think that. I think back in, early 90s, stuff like that, it was not very acceptable. And you go to the mall, and
yeah, there's a lot.
It's no big deal. Nobody cares anymore.
I don't know that anybody ever cared. I think people cared when it was their family. But then when those people had kids and their grandkids are black, they change. They I don't think they hate it anymore, because you can't hate that child.
No.
So I think the fact that you do have so much interracial dating, I think that makes things better, because after you got an interracial child, you can learn to love that child. And it's like you said, if you play sports together, it's like, no, I think you have a black grandkid and you used to be a racist, that'll change you up real quick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your karma coming back at you. It's like, yeah, this is what you get for hating people for no reason, So, yeah.
Eventually, we're all going to be one color. Well, we won't.
That's
we won't be alive, but eventually.
You ever see the movie Bullworth?
I have not.
Yeah, so it was Warren Beatty, and it was kind of the last time I saw Warren Beatty. It was so real and honest. He was playing a politician, and he was running for governor, and he started like saying all the stuff, like he was like a Democrat, and he started saying all the honest stuff to every group that he was talking to. So he went to like a Jewish event, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry. I always look out for the rich Jews, And he went to a black church, and he was like, "You said you were going to put it, help the community. You said you're going to do that." It was like, "Well, me, Clinton, and a couple others came down here. We told you what you wanted to hear, and we kind of forgot about it." That's all you want. That's what we do. We tell you what you want to hear, and we come back. We go back to the church, and we do it all over again. It was so honest and real. But to make a long story short, what he said in that movie, they was like, well, what do you think about race in America? He's like, I think we should all just start fucking each other until we all the same color.
Yeah.
And then everything will be cool after that.
It would be a lot easier, don't you think? It'd just be class warfare.
Man, can't nobody fuck fast enough. Make everybody the same color. But I just wish that, it was just like we would all come together to tear down these systematic things that, like, when you asked me about reparations one time, I think the reparations thing is kind of like the repair for America's bad karma and all this bad energy that it's always expressed towards minority people. And I think the reparation thing can fix it. It's a healing process. It's like if I steal your car from you and I mess your car up, the restitution would be for me to what? Pay for the damages that I did to you.
What's the value
of reparations? Some say $17 trillion. 17 trillion. Yeah, America can't afford what they've done to us. But I think the fact that there's no effort and it's always so dismissive, and I think that's a level of disrespect to say that, well, we can't do reparations. Like, y'all can't do nothing? Y'all can't even put something on it? Like, if we the bill collector and we call in, it's like, you ain't got nothing to put on it? Y'all ain't even got a down payment, a good faith payment? Nothing? We can't do nothing?
So,
and then get us disrespectful to say, well, Barack Obama was your reparations. How disrespectful is that, Mitch McConnell?
I've never heard that one
Mitch
before.
McConnell said that. I think Barack Obama was reparations.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah, so it's so disrespectful. And then you don't get any better from the other side because Elizabeth Warren says, I'm all for reparations if you give it to Native Americans, because she says she's a Native American. It's like, how disrespectful is this? So I think until we can all, come together and like be real about it, it's like, look, there's some damage that we've done. We got to take some kind of responsibility. We can't give you the 17 trillion, you know what I'm saying, but we can make efforts.
That is just a super long rabbit hole to go down. I mean, just go back in history over any period of time. There's literally just if you have a timeline of history and just randomly drop a time and at any point, there is some group of people that were getting victimized.
But nobody got victimized like we did.
I'm not talking about just here in the United States in history.
I'm
talking about the whole world.
Nowhere in the world has anybody suffered the atrocities of the black slave in America.
By no means am I trying to discredit or make it seem less important. I'm not trying to attempt to do that, but I am saying that history is littered with this, and there's not enough paper to print off to pay for all the stuff that's ever happened.
Okay, if you don't got the cash to do it, you got to make efforts at least. It's like, but to just sit back and say we can't do nothing, it's like, that's even worse. Like if you just put something on it, like if they just said everybody get $100 and we're sorry about it and we'll try to do better later. That's better than saying, hey, we can't do it, man. It's
that would
be
$100 to make it feel better.
It would still be a disrespectful notion. It wouldn't repair anything, but we would actually see an effort. Like most presidents won't even go as far as to say we fucked up. If America would just get to the point where it can accept the fact and not always say, well, that's just life and it happens and everybody, it's like.
But I don't know of anybody that's saying that it's not a big deal or that it's.
Start listening. They're all saying it.
They're all saying it is what it is.
Yeah, that's what was her name? Marianne Williamson said America needs to start by thinking about paying reparations to African Americans, and the CNN people cut her off. They cut her mic off, and they made sure she never spoke again.
Well, the owners of CNN,
yeah, they cut her mic off. And it's like you're not even allowed to bring this thing up because it's becoming an issue. And then you'll have like people will follow these people around. Bernie Sanders. Somebody asked Bernie Sanders one time, it's like, Bernie, what do you think about reparations? He was like, what is reparations? It's like, and he was like, a check. It's like, I don't believe in a check. He took off running. Yeah, they asked Kamala Harris. She wouldn't even answer the question. Like, she wouldn't even look. No, she was like, no, I'm not answering that. So every person that you ask about reparations, you're like, no, we're not doing it. I mean, they're not going to blatantly say, fuck you, we ain't going to do this shit. But they might as well.
That's a hot button issue to talk about if you're a politician that only cares about the votes.
Even Barack Obama says I'm against reparations.
He says he's against it?
Oh, yeah. even Barack Obama. So I mean, that's the ultimate spit in the face. You know, it's like you're supposed to be the black president, and you don't even like understand or appreciate the what black people went through. But at the same time, it's like I think you fix your sins by first apologizing and atoning, and maybe it's not going to be this humongous check. Maybe it's not, but it's got to be something there. You know what I'm saying? It has to be, I don't know, maybe invest in business or something like that, or give a certain amount of contracts out to black businesses or something like that, But there does have to be something has to be done. And if we just keep ignoring it, then we never get past it. We never,
It's just so hard because, I mean, nobody.
And as forgiving as we are, we go and we hug our brother's murderer.
Oh, my goodness.
That ridiculousness. Like as forgiving as we are, it's like we've already forgiven you.
It's just so hard because nobody's even grandchildren are alive that went through that.
That's not true.
On either side.
That's not true. That's not true. When did slavery end?
1863.
That's cute. That's cute.
1865.
No, that's cute. They stopped calling it slavery. They changed the name to sharecropping. That lasted all the way up to the 1970s. That's slavery. I've got pictures of the census of people who were like my great grandparents were sharecroppers. And you look on the census and you see all these names and they lived on basically slave plantations, and the income zero. You just live there. You don't make any money, any income. This was back in 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, all the way up until probably the 60s when people just got up and left and came up north to get these factory jobs. Slavery is not that long gone.
But wouldn't they be voluntarily doing that for that long?
You could do nothing and starve.
Yeah, I don't.
Because you don't have any money to buy.
You
don't have any money to buy any land. You don't have any income. So you don't have any cash. So you can't buy anything. You can't buy your way out of anything.
This is new information to me. I mean, I was always taught in the Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln, which I think that was like 1860 something.
And Mississippi banned slavery on the books about 20 years ago. So I mean. Yeah, and that's always the argument. It's like you weren't a slave. Like, yeah, but the effects of it, the fact that the people that came before me that I lived to see didn't have anything to put me in a position until they got the hell out of the South and moved up north. And everybody didn't have the resources to get up and move out north because you got to think when the cars, become in mass transportation.
Yeah. But we're too reliant on the vehicles. For tens of thousands of years, we had our 2 feet, and we got along just fine.
You can't walk from Mississippi to Chicago.
Forrest Gump ran all the way across the United States of America.
Twice. Twice even. Yeah. Forrest Gump was a bad dude, man. Right. Yep. He was a Black Panther, too.
He was, wasn't he?
Him and Jenny. Until he got in that fight, they threw him out. Said, get your crazy ass out of here, boy. But all right, man, we hour in, man. Let's call it one. But this was a good discussion of some real honesty, and I don't think you walked into any landmines or anything like that. Maybe the feedback from the podcast will let us know how people feel about you. But wear it as a badge of armor, man.
Yep. Thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, see you next time.